Let's be real. Negotiation is everywhere. You're doing it when you're buying a car, sure, but also when you're asking for a raise, or even just trying to decide where to get dinner with your friends. And so often, it feels like this, battle. It feels like someone has to lose. Well, today, we're going to dive into a landmark book that offers a much better way, a method to get what you want, what you deserve, while still being a decent human being.
So we've all been here, right? You walk into a negotiation and you face this classic dilemma. Do you play it soft? Try to preserve the relationship, make some concessions, and just hope for a friendly outcome? Or do you go in hard, treating the whole thing like a contest of wills, where coming on top is the only thing that matters? It always feels like you have to choose, be a pushover or be a bulldozer.
And we tend to think those are our only two options. The soft negotiator, well, they avoid conflict, they make concessions easily, but they often walk away feeling kind of used and honestly a little bitter. Then you've got the hard negotiator. They treat it like a war, all right? But winning that war can totally torch the relationship and create resentment that lasts for years. You can see how neither one of these is really a winning strategy in the long run.
Okay, so if going soft doesn't work and going hard doesn't work, what's the actual problem here? Well, it's the game itself. Most of us, without even knowing it, are playing this game called positional bargaining, and it's a trap.
This probably feels pretty familiar. It's that classic haggling dance, right? The customer says one price, the shopkeeper says another, and they start this slow, kind of painful process of inching towards some number in the middle. This isn't really problem solving. It's more like a slow-motion tug-of-war.
So this whole dance, taking a position, digging your heels in, and then slowly giving up little bits of ground, that's what the book calls positional bargaining. It's basically the default setting for most of us, whether we're at a huge international summit or just picking a movie on a Friday night. And it turns out it's a deeply flawed way to get things done.
And the costs of playing this game are huge. First off, it's super inefficient. All that posturing and haggling just wastes a ton of time. Second, it's dangerous for relationships. It automatically turns people who could be partners into adversaries. And maybe worst of all, it leads to unwise agreements. By locking ourselves into our starting positions, we become blind to other, more creative solutions that could have actually made everyone happier.
But what if you didn't have to play that game? What if you could just change the rules? The authors of Getting to Yes propose a third way, a way out of that hard versus soft dilemma. It's a method they call principled negotiation.
The core idea here is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. Be hard on the merits, but soft on the people. You see, instead of making it a battle of wills, you turn the negotiation into a side-by-side search for a good, fair outcome. You're not attacking each other anymore, you're attacking the problem together.
Now, this whole method is built on 4 key principles that basically act as the new rules of the game. Number 1, separate the people from the problem. Number 2, focus on interests, not positions. 3, invent options for mutual gain. And finally, number 4, insist on using objective criteria to make the final call.
Okay, the absolute key to this whole thing is understanding the difference between a position and an interest. Your position is the specific thing you say you want, like the window must be closed. Your interest is the reason why you want it. I feel a draft and I don't want to get sick. Finding those underlying interests, the why behind the what, that's where all the magic happens. There's this classic story about 2 guys arguing in a library. One guy wants the window open, the other guy wants the window closed. Their positions are in total conflict. A librarian walks over, but she doesn't ask them what they want, she asks them why. Turns out, one wants some fresh air and the other wants to avoid a draft. The solution? She opens a window in the next room. They get fresh air, but with no draft. Problem solved. And that leads right into the third principle. Instead of just assuming there's a fixed pie that you have to fight over, you actively work together to make the pie bigger. The trick here is to separate the act of creating ideas from judging them. You just brainstorm. Throw a whole bunch of possibilities on the table before you even start thinking about what to decide on.
One really powerful way to do this is something called dovetailing interests. This just means looking for things that are a low cost to you, but a huge benefit to them, and the other way around.
For instance, maybe a tenant doesn't care when they pay a security deposit, but the landlord really needs the cash flow right now. See? Suddenly that difference isn't a problem. It's an opportunity for a super easy win-win.
Okay, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. What do you do when the other side just seems to have all the power, all the leverage? How does this method work when you're up against, raw power?
This is often the biggest hurdle for people, right? You're thinking, this is all great in theory, but I'm negotiating with my boss or some huge corporation. I don't have any leverage. But here's the thing. The source of real negotiating power isn't what you probably think it is.
The answer lies in a really cool concept called the BATNA. It stands for your best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Now, this isn't your bottom line or the lowest you'll go. This is your walkaway plan. It's the absolute best thing you can do for yourself if the negotiation completely fails. Knowing your BATNA and making it as strong as possible is the true source of your power.
And this just completely flips the script on what we think of as power. Real negotiating power doesn't come from having more money or a fancier title. It comes from how good your BATNA is compared to their BATNA. The person with the better walkaway option has the real leverage, no matter how big and powerful the other side seems.
Imagine a wealthy tourist haggling with a poor street vendor over some little brass pot. You'd think the rich tourist has all the power, right? Nope, it's the vendor. Why? Because the vendor has a great BATNA. He knows another tourist will walk by in 5 minutes and buy that pot. The wealthy tourist, who might not find another one like it, actually has the weaker BATNA. So the key is to strengthen your walkaway plan.
All of this forces us to step back and rethink the entire goal of negotiation. It makes us ask a really fundamental question. What does it even mean to win?
I absolutely love this story from the book. So there are two people in a park. They're tossing a frisbee back and forth, just having a great time. A passerby watches them for a few minutes, then walks up and asks one of them, "Excuse me, who is winning?" The question is just absurd, isn't it? They're not playing against each other, they're playing with each other.
And that's the whole point. The authors argue that asking who's winning a negotiation should feel just as wrong, just as inappropriate as asking who's winning a marriage. If you even have to ask that question, you've already lost the much bigger, more important negotiation, the one about how you're going to solve problems together. The real victory is just finding a better way to play the game.
So in the end, negotiation is a kind of game. And look, you can't control how the other side is going to play, but you can always choose your own approach. You can choose to play by those old, rusty rules of positional warfare, or you can choose to play a different game. One that's hard on the problem, soft on the people, and actually creates smart, durable outcomes for everyone involved. The rules you play by, that choice is up to you.